love you hear about in legends.
Which is why we must fight for it.
I have watched this trailer at least 10 times already, and every single time, I find something new that gives me chills. I am not exaggerating when I say that the Outlander Season 8 Episode 6 trailer might be one of the most intense and emotionally packed trailers this show has ever dropped. There is so much happening in just a few seconds that if you blinked, you probably missed half of it. And trust me, you do not want to miss any of it. Because this episode is shaping up to be the kind of episode that fans are going to be talking about for a very long time. Everything that has been building up since the season started, every loose thread, every unanswered question, every moment of tension that has been sitting heavy on our chests, it all seems to be coming to a head right here, right in episode 6. So buckle up because we are going deep into this trailer, and I promise you, by the time we are done, you are going to be just as obsessed as I am. Let's start with Jamie and the loyalist situation, because honestly, this is the storyline that has me the most on edge right now. If you watched episode 5, you already know that Jamie did not just survive the confrontation with Captain Charles Cunningham. He came out of it with a list of names. A list of men living right there on Fraser's Ridge, who would have gladly watched him swing from a rope. And that is not just a betrayal, that is a wound that cuts deep, because these are not strangers. These are people who have been living on his land, eating from the same soil, breathing the same mountain air, and all along, they were waiting for the right moment to hand him over to the crown. The fact that Jamie quietly passed those names to Claire tells you everything about the kind of man he is. He did not explode, he did not drag those men out into the yard and make a scene. He kept it close, kept it calm, and made sure that if anything ever happened to him, Claire would know exactly who to watch out for. That is Jamie Fraser in a nutshell, always thinking 3 steps ahead, even when his heart is breaking. But here is where episode 6 gets really complicated, and the trailer makes this very clear. Claire is not willing to just let Jamie handle this the way he wants to handle it. And honestly, good for her, because Jamie's version of handling things can sometimes be a little too final, if you know what I mean. Claire brings up the fact that these men have families. They have wives who had nothing to do with their husbands' choices. They have children who are completely innocent. And she is absolutely right. You cannot punish an entire family for the sins of one man. That is not justice, that is cruelty. And Claire Fraser has never been the kind of woman to stand by and watch cruelty happen without saying something about it. So when she pushes back on Jamie, it is not because she does not understand the danger. She understands it better than anyone. It is because she refuses to let fear turn them into the very thing they are fighting against. Now Jamie, bless his stubborn Scottish heart, is not exactly the easiest man to convince when he has already made up his mind. We have known this about him for 8 seasons. Once Jamie Fraser decides something, it takes an act of God or a very determined Claire to change his course. And the trailer gives us this incredible moment, where you can see that tension playing out right there on his face. He is not dismissing Claire, he is listening, but you can also see that part of him is still holding on to the idea that the only way to truly protect his family is to remove the threat completely. And I understand that. I do. When your home has been invaded by betrayal from the inside, the instinct is to cut it out and be done with it. But this is Outlander, and nothing is ever that simple. What makes this storyline even more layered is that scene in the trailer where a woman, clearly one of the wives of the loyalist men, comes to Jamie practically on her knees. She is desperate, she is terrified, and she is begging him, telling him that they will do anything, anything at all, if he just spares them. And Jamie's response is cold and absolute. He tells her that if those men ever come within his sight again, he will kill them. Now, hearing Jamie say something like that with that kind of certainty, it sends a chill down your spine. Because you believe him. You know he means every single word, but at the same time, your heart breaks for that woman, because she is caught in the middle of something she probably had no say in whatsoever. This is the impossible puzzle that Claire was talking about. There is no clean answer here. There is no solution that leaves everyone unharmed. And that is exactly what makes this episode feel so heavy and so real. What I am hoping to see in episode 6 is some kind of middle ground that Claire and Jamie manage to find together, because that has always been their greatest strength. Not Jamie's sword arm or Claire's medical knowledge, but the two of them sitting down and working through something that seems impossible and coming out the other side with a solution that neither of them could have found alone. Maybe the women choose to leave. Maybe Jamie gives them safe passage in exchange for their silence and their loyalty going forward. Maybe some of those men, when faced with the reality of losing everything, decide that their allegiance to the crown is not worth what it is costing them. Whatever happens, I have a feeling it is not going to be simple, and it is not going to be painless. But I also have a feeling that it is going to be incredibly powerful to watch. Now let's talk about Cleveland, because this is a storyline that I have been nervous about since the moment his name came up this season. For those who have read the books, you already know that Cleveland is not exactly the kind of man you want showing up at your door. He has a reputation, and not a good one. His methods are brutal, his loyalty is purely strategic, and the idea of Jamie Fraser, a man with a deep and unshakable moral code, being forced to align himself with someone like Cleveland is genuinely uncomfortable. And yet, here we are. Because the trailer makes it very clear that Jamie has reached a point where he has no other choice. With the loyalists on his land exposed but not yet dealt with, and the Battle of Kings Mountain looming on the horizon, Jamie needs numbers. He needs men who are willing to fight, and Cleveland has those men, but here is what I keep thinking about. Jamie already knows what Cleveland is capable of. Frank's book laid it out clearly enough that Jamie went into this knowing full well what kind of men he was dealing with. And still, the idea of fighting alongside him made Jamie deeply uncomfortable. That discomfort was not just about strategy or politics. It was about Jamie's sense of honor. Because for Jamie, how you fight matters just as much as what you are fighting for. And Cleveland does not seem to share that particular value. The trailer hints at this tension in a really interesting way, because you get this sense that Cleveland is not just offering his help, he is offering it with conditions. And those conditions are the part that worries me the most. What exactly is Cleveland going to ask of Jamie in exchange for his support? Is he going to demand that Jamie deal with the loyalists on the ridge in a way that Jamie cannot bring himself to do? Is he going to use this moment of vulnerability to pull Jamie into something darker and more dangerous than the battle itself? Because that is absolutely something Cleveland would do. He is the kind of man who sees every alliance as an opportunity and every favor as a debt to be collected later. And Jamie Fraser is far too honorable to walk away from a debt once he has taken on the obligation. So if Cleveland extracts a promise from Jamie in episode 6, you can bet that promise is going to come back and haunt him in the worst possible way. I also want to talk about what this means for Jamie emotionally, because I think sometimes we focus so much on the action and the politics that we forget what all of this is doing to him on the inside. This man has spent his entire life trying to build something. A home, a community, a legacy for his family. And over again, that dream gets threatened, gets torn apart, and he has to put it back together with his bare hands. Every season, Jamie carries more weight on those shoulders and you can see it. You can see it in the way he moves, in the way he speaks, in the way he looks at Claire when he thinks no one is watching. He is a man who is tired, but who refuses to stop. And now he has to shake hands with someone he despises in order to protect the thing he loves most. That is not just a plot point. That is heartbreaking. The episode 6 trailer does not give us a lot of Cleveland to work with, but what little we do see is enough to make me deeply uneasy. There is something in the way this storyline is being set up that feels like a slow burn heading toward a massive explosion. And I have a feeling that by the time we reach the Battle of Kings Mountain, whatever deal Jamie has made with Cleveland is going to cost him something he was not prepared to give up. What do you think, though? Do you think Jamie will be able to hold on to his principles while working alongside Cleveland, or is this alliance going to change him in ways we are not ready to see? Let me know in the comments, because I genuinely want to hear your theories on this one. Let's move on to William, because honestly, this young man's storyline is breaking my heart in the best possible way this season. If you have been following along, you know that episode 5 gave us something really beautiful and really complicated at the same time. William, always the gentleman, accompanied Brianna to the camp so she could find Roger and make sure he was alive. And while Brianna got her reunion, William ended up having one of his own, except his was not nearly as joyful. He ran into Benjamin, his cousin, the same cousin who everyone believed was dead. The same cousin who, as it turns out, faked his entire death and switched sides to become a patriot. And the show handled this exactly the way the books did, which I really appreciated, because it would have been so easy to change it and lose all of that emotional complexity in the process. Now, on the surface, William finding out that Benjamin is alive should be a good thing. And in some ways it is. There is genuine relief there, genuine happiness that his cousin is not rotting in a grave somewhere. But underneath that relief there is anger. Real, raw anger. Because Benjamin put everyone through the grief of believing he was gone. He let people mourn him. He let people carry that loss and reshape their lives around it. And then he just shows up, alive and well, wearing a different uniform, and acting like it is all perfectly fine. William is not the kind of person who can just brush something like that aside. He feels things deeply, even when he tries not to show it. And you could see in episode 5 that the anger was right there, sitting just below the surface, fighting with the relief for control of his face. But here is the part that really gets to me, and I think this is the part that the episode 6 trailer is quietly setting up even without showing us directly. Amaranthus. Because just as William is starting to open his heart again, just as he is allowing himself to feel something real for someone, Benjamin comes back. And Benjamin and Amaranthus have a history. We know this. The show has made sure we know this. And now William has to look at the woman he is falling for and wonder, is she truly here with me, or is she still holding on to something that she thought she had buried along with him? That is an agonizing position to be in. Especially for someone like William, who has had so little luck when it comes to love and happiness. I said it before and I will say it again. William Fraser has never really been given a fair chance at happiness. Every time this man gets close to something good, something comes along and pulls it away from him. And you root for him so hard because of it. You want him to catch a break. You want him to get the girl and feel the joy and have one storyline that does not end with him standing alone looking like the world just fell out from under his feet. And right now, Benjamin's return is threatening to be exactly that thing that pulls the rug out from under him again. I personally do not think Amaranthus will choose Benjamin over William. I think what she feels for William is real and grounded in who she is now, not who she was when Benjamin was in her life. But feelings are complicated. History is complicated. And the heart does not always do what we want it to do. What I am watching closely in episode 6 is how Amaranthus responds to Benjamin being alive. Does she look shaken? Does she pull away from William, even slightly? Because even a small shift in her behavior is going to set William's insecurities on fire, and rightfully so. He has every reason in the world to be guarded. Every reason to expect the worst. And if Amaranthus gives him even the smallest reason to doubt her, I think it is going to hit him like a freight train. I really hope the writers give this storyline the care it deserves, because William's emotional journey this season has been one of the most quietly powerful things about season 8 so far. And I would hate to see it handled carelessly at such a crucial moment.